Our family has run a bespoke shirt shop for generations. Located in a quiet corner of the city, the small shop attracted customers who had heard rumors of our craftsmanship. As the successor to my father, I was responsible for measuring, pattern making, and sewing. My mother had passed away when I was young, but my earnest and kind father always shared stories of her. Your mother was a lady from a distinguished family. When I first met her, I was being trained by your grandfather and had gone to deliver shirts to the mansion where she lived. Our high-quality bespoke shirts were loved by influential businessmen, politicians, and renowned actors who were particular about what they wore. My mother's family was also regular customers of the shop run by my grandfather and father, and my mother at a young age fell in love with my father at first sight. Though she had a fiancé chosen by her parents, her family understood her feelings and allowed her to marry my father. Even after marrying a nobleman's daughter, my father never boasted and continued to make shirts diligently. My mother loved him for it and lived happily until her death. Having learned the secrets of shirt making from my father, I had become a skilled shirt maker myself. When my father fell ill, I took over managing the shop. One day, a young man entered the shop. He was slender with elegant features, a truly handsome model. When he filled in the necessary customer information, I found his name was Ryan Adams, a model. His refined smile revealed his well-bred manners. "It's my first time ordering a bespoke shirt. A senior told me that wearing a shirt from here is a rite of passage." His beautiful smile shone brightly. I had made shirts for various celebrities, but I had never seen such a radiantly beautiful young man before. Uncharacteristically, I began to blush as I took his measurements. Ryan was slim, but his body was well-toned, befitting a model. I was nervous and my hands trembled as I touched his shoulders and arms. This was the first time I had felt this way since I started making bespoke shirts. After managing to finish measuring and selecting fabrics, Ryan smiled at me. "Excuse me, may I ask your name?" His stunning smile made me tense up. "My name is Jane. Jane Hansen." As I replied blushing, Ryan looked at me with gentle, cool eyes. Everything about him was perfectly proportioned like a doll, yet his smile was warm. "It's a lovely name. I look forward to my shirt, Jane." My face turned bright red when he called me by my name. It wasn't just because he was handsome, but also because his demeanor and expressions made him seem like a truly wonderful man. After Ryan left the shop, my husband Peter appeared as if on cue. Peter, a distant relative of my father, wanted to be a shirt maker and had imposed himself on our family but did nothing but drink. Fooled by Peter's feigned enthusiasm, my father had arranged our marriage. Since my father was hospitalized, Peter had shown his true colors, squandering the shop's money on leisure. He scoffed after disdainfully looking at me who was seeing off Ryan. "Hey, go buy some alcohol." But I rejected Peter's request. "I have work to do. If you want to drink, you should work for it." I had never wanted to marry Peter in the first place. My father, concerned for my well-being as his health declined, had been deceived by Peter's act of sincerity. Peter's parents, taking advantage of my father's absence, indulged themselves with the shop's money and even sold my mother's keepsakes as they pleased. I regretted not completely rejecting the marriage from the start, but it was too late. Peter grimaced and left the shop when I refused to buy alcohol. I suspected he was not only going to buy alcohol but also likely cheating. As I worked silently, my father-in-law and mother-in-law approached. I ignored them as I worked on the patterns. Then, my father-in-law disparaged me. "A modest shop like this doesn't make decent money. A useless daughter-in-law just making mediocre shirts." My mother-in-law agreed with his contempt. "We thought there would be more money. It's a pity for Peter to have such an ugly wife." I completely ignored their mockery and continued my work, but finally spoke out. "If you dislike it, please leave, all three of you." They just laughed condescendingly as I continued to work in silence. When Ryan returned to pick up his shirt, he noticed my condition and his expression clouded. "Are you all right? You look pale, and if you don't mind me saying, there's a bruise on your cheek." Ryan was concerned for my well-being, but I lied to Ryan, saying I had tripped and fallen due to fatigue from work. In fact, I had been abused by Peter while he was drunk, and it was starting to affect my job. In a quiet voice, I confided something important to Ryan. I'm leaving this shop. After my father passed away, I lost my place here. Ryan was shocked, so I explained the situation at a cafe outside the shop instead. Busy with my father's care and overwhelmed by work, I had been usurped by Peter and my in-laws, who took over the shop's rights. Peter brought women into the shop at his leisure, and my cunning in-laws had rewritten the property and ownership documents to transfer everything to themselves. They planned to abandon the outdated bespoke shop model for mass production. That's why, Mr. Adams, this shirt I made for you is my last piece of work. I'm such a fool to have let my father's shop be taken so easily. Ryan listened solemnly to my story and then sighed deeply. It sounds like you've been through a lot. I'll cherish the shirt you made for me. But, do you have somewhere to go after all this? Grateful for his concern, I smiled a little and nodded. Fortunately, I have a friend who's a designer and she's offered me a job. Her name is Megan Ford, an emerging designer. Hearing Megan's name, Ryan exclaimed in surprise. Wow! Megan Ford's design studio? I've been working with her on modeling assignments. He seemed a bit relieved as he sipped his mint water, then smiled encouragingly at me. Jane, I'll help however I can, albeit modestly. I look forward to seeing you at Megan's studio. Thank you. Talking to you has made me feel a lot better. As I smiled slightly more cheerfully, Ryan grinned and said, From now on, you can call me Ryan. Thus, I was driven out of my father's shop and sought refuge with my friend Megan. She was the daughter of one of my father's business associates and had established herself as a designer. Though we were opposites, Megan being assertive and me being shy, we had always gotten along well. She had come to my aid after learning that Peter and my former in-laws had taken over the shop. Megan had physically confronted Peter and boldly told him off. A guy like you doesn't deserve Jane. Just stick with that other woman. The smart and strong-willed Megan had insisted that I keep the only valuable asset of the shop, that is, the customer list. This list contained personal information about various celebrities, and she stressed that it was crucial to protect it. I managed to save the customer list from my cunning in-laws before leaving the shop. Having made bespoke shirts for so long, I adapted easily to working in Megan's design studio. Megan would finalize the designs, and I would create the patterns and sew. Her designs were often unconventional but surprisingly popular, and she was making a name for herself. Megan. I really don't understand this design. That looked like a traffic jam of peacocks. When I expressed my confusion, Megan calmly replied. Jane, in fashion design, it's about bringing your ideas to life and those who do will win. Is that so? It's really different from shirts. As we were having this conversation, Ryan Adams visited the studio. Ryan was a popular model in the fashion industry, highly sought after by various brands, but he enjoyed Megan's work. Looking at her overly unique design, he chuckled. It looks like a flock of peacocks dancing. Typical Megan. He was genuinely impressed, and as I prepared some herbal tea, Megan said, Ryan, that shirt suits you well, doesn't it? It must be one of Jane's handmade creations. Megan straightforwardly voiced the compliment I was too shy to say myself. Knowing I was blushing, Megan gave Ryan a sly smile. Ryan, you've been visiting quite often since Jane came, haven't you? Jane's too reserved to say anything, so I'll ask. Do you want to be her boyfriend? As I tried to intervene, Ryan responded. Exactly. I've wanted to be Jane's boyfriend for a long time, ever since we were children. His candid confession was surprising, but I was even more shocked to learn that we had known each other since childhood. Ryan then shared how we first met. Ryan Adams's father was a famous actor and a regular customer at my father's shirt shop. I was about 10 years old at the time. One day, while I was practicing measuring with my father, Ryan's father visited the shop, unusually bringing along a 6-year-old boy, Ryan. The boy was Ryan Adams, and I kept him company until his father finished placing his shirt order. His father had just gone through a divorce, and although his mother had custody, he had brought Ryan with him that day. Since the actor's last name was different, I didn't recognize Ryan when he grew up and came to the shop. When I remembered the adorable little boy I had played with inside the shop, Ryan smiled. My father promised to take me to a wonderful shop. I remember playing with buttons and fabric scraps together. Those were good times. As I was moved to tears, Ryan looked at me intently with a serious expression. I wanted to see you again, Jane, but my father strictly told me. Ryan's father had told him. Become a man worthy of those shirts before you go to see the young lady. When Ryan struggled with how he could meet me, his mother, a former ballet dancer, had advised him. Since you are exceptionally handsome, find a job that makes the most of it. Seeing that her son was unsuited for acting or ballet, Ryan's mother suggested he pursue modeling. That career change led to his becoming a popular model, and his desire to reunite with me brought him to my shop. Ryan was embarrassed, but Megan spoke plainly. Ryan, your father is a major actor and your mother a ballerina, and yet you're not suited for that? No. I can't remember lines, and though I learned classical ballet, I can't lift female dancers. By process of elimination, modeling was the only path left. Considering his success as a model, I thought Ryan must have worked incredibly hard. Then, steering the conversation back, Ryan confessed to me again. I may not be good at many things, and a wonderful woman like you might be out of my league, but will you marry me? Ryan's sudden proposal took me by surprise, but I responded firmly. I love you too, Ryan. If you think I'm good enough, then yes, let's get married. As I accepted, Megan clapped her hands. All right then, it's settled. Ryan, just a warning. If you ever make Jane sad, I'll punch that handsome face of yours. Megan's threat made both Ryan and I laugh. Thus, I remarried a man of dazzling beauty and a kind heart. We moved from Megan's place to the apartment where Ryan lived, and I was happy living as his wife, working at a design studio. I even met Ryan's parents. His actor father, familiar with my face, cried with joy that I was marrying his son. He was furious about the fate of my shop. It's unforgivable what they did. Jane, I'm sorry I couldn't help. As I tried to downplay his concern, Ryan's father asked me to make bespoke shirts again if it was not too much trouble. Ryan's mother was delicate and beautiful as a former graceful ballerina. Even though I was a plain woman, she smiled kindly, her beauty blooming like a flower. Ryan may be lacking in many areas other than his looks, but he's very kind and pure-hearted. Jane, please take good care of my son. As Ryan's mother smiled gracefully, I smiled back too. Mom, don't worry. I'll protect Jane. With a powerful declaration from Ryan, his mother confidently added. Ryan, if Jane ever faces danger, remember what I taught you. While it was unclear what Ryan might have learned from his beautiful mother, my crisis came quite soon. That day, as usual, I was working at Megan's design studio with Ryan. While discussing how to transform Megan's innovative designs into patterns, unwanted visitors arrived, my ex-husband Peter and my former in-laws. Megan quickly prepared for confrontation, and although Ryan did not intervene, he glared coldly at them. When they saw me, they knelt down and pleaded. Please help us. I had anticipated this. With Megan's permission, I had resumed making bespoke shirts for some regular customers from my shirt shop days. They had told me. That shop is over. They went for mass production, but the quality was so poor no one goes there anymore. Plus, the woman Peter brought in stole valuables and ran off. Evidently, the woman Peter had brought in after driving me out was after money from the start. As the shop faced bankruptcy and creditors pursued him, Peter tearfully begged me for help. You are telling me to help you. But what do you want exactly? With a chilly gaze, I asked, and Peter, with a sycophantic smile and a greedy look, replied. Give me the shirt shop's customer list. It's full of rich people, right? I could sell their personal information to pay off my debts. With such brazen shamelessness, I was not even angry, just calm. Megan and Ryan looked on at Peter and his parents as if they were something foul. Naturally, I refused. I refuse. That list is a trust placed in me by my customers. I have no intention of handing it over to a fool. Normally reserved and unassertive, my firm refusal left Peter and his parents speechless. When I told them they were disrupting my work and should leave, Peter lost his temper. "How dare you be so arrogant, you ugly woman?" Just as Peter lunged at me, a long leg entered my field of vision and he tripped spectacularly. Ryan, with perfect posture, had tripped Peter up. Sorry. My legs are just too long, seems I accidentally tripped you." As Peter lay foaming at the mouth, his parents screamed unrepentantly, "That's assault." But Megan laughed it off. "Like son, like parents, huh? Should I call the police for you?" Megan then stepped on Peter. "Oops, sorry. Thought it was a bug." Then, the former in-laws hurriedly carried Peter away. Although I was unharmed, Ryan hugged me worriedly. "Are you okay, Jane? Any injuries? How's your body feeling?" Genuinely concerned for me, Megan also chimed in seriously. "Jane, you are 3 months pregnant." If not for Ryan's quick reflexes, both mother and child could have been in danger. "Don't say it like that, it's not a habit." Indeed, I was pregnant with Ryan's child. That's why when Peter attacked, I instinctively protected my stomach. Ryan, following his mother's advice, had kicked Peter hard to protect me and our unborn child. Megan was also ready to defend me and the baby, armed with a chair, prepared to wreck her office if necessary. Though I had lost my father's shop, I was truly happy to have a husband and a best friend who would go to great lengths to protect me. Tears of joy streamed down my face, and Ryan tenderly embraced me while Megan looked on with a smile. It was a precious moment, but soon interrupted by the cautious opening of a door. It was Ryan's father. "Ryan, even if you adore Jane, make sure to stay professional during work hours." My new father-in-law, a renowned actor, had come to order a shirt he needed for an awards ceremony where he was the leading man. He smiled at the affectionate scene between us. After such tumultuous events, Peter and his parents met their downfall. The shop went bankrupt, pursued by creditors. A dire situation worsened when my pregnancy and their barbaric act became widely known, leaving them without any assistance. I had kept the customer list safe, preventing any data breach. Ironically, one of the men Peter was indebted to, also a client from the shirt shop, had smirked when he came to order a shirt from me. "Don't worry, Jane. I'll collect fiercely from those worthless ex-in-laws of yours," he assured. He commended me for safeguarding the customer list before leaving. While I worked, Megan said with some amazement, "I know very well, but the connections your father had are just too extensive." Thanks to my father's sincere and skilled craftsmanship, customers who had heard about the shop's closure came to me for orders. Even as my pregnancy progressed, I continued working at Megan's studio and as a shirt maker. Ryan became a highly popular model, dazzling on the covers of fashion magazines. The gender of our baby was a surprise to be enjoyed at birth. As I approached my due date, working in Megan's studio, labor began suddenly, possibly influenced by Megan's overly innovative design. Megan rushed me to the maternity ward, and Ryan left his photo shoot, arriving still dressed in his latest brand's outfit. Both my father-in-law, caught during a movie shoot, and my mother-in-law, from a ballet class, rushed to the maternity ward, concerned for me. I didn't see it, but I heard they arrived dressed as a feudal lord and in a leotard respectively. Ryan was unmistakably their son. Fortunately, my first childbirth went smoothly, and the nurse joyously announced, "Congratulations. It's a beautiful girl. Our newborn daughter looked just like Ryan. She's beautiful, surely, she'll be as lovely as her father." As I smiled, Ryan joyfully said, "She has your mouth, Jane. She's going to be a smart girl." Then, both the feudal lord father-in-law and leotard-wearing mother-in-law lovingly watched their granddaughter, and he casually announced, "By the way, Ryan's mom and I are getting back together. Please support us." When this sudden news shocked both Ryan and me, his mother blushed. "We decided to tell you after Jane safely gave birth." Laughing together, Ryan and I wished for happiness for our newly united and reunited families. Meanwhile, Megan was left to handle my father-in-law's manager. Our daughter was named after Megan, a talented and dependable woman. Our daughter Meg inherited Ryan's dazzling beauty and became our greatest treasure.